Hi, it's Chris and Betsy of As We Go, and we invite you to join us as we go with our friends to the South Carolina State Museum. So the South Carolina State Museum is really kind of two museums in one. For an additional fee, you can visit the South Carolina Confederate Relic Room and Military Museum. Now, this museum is far more than just Civil War relics. And while we were going through the exhibits, we ran into Joe. Now, Joe Long is the curator of education, and he offered to take us around, and are we glad we did. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hush up, and we're going to let Joe do the talking.
Now, the plant on the other side is laurel, and ever since the ancient Olympic Games, where the crown was made of laurel leaves, laurel is the symbol of victory.
Right.
So when the ladies embroidered this flag, they added victory and strength. And it's all tied together, of course, with a little
little heart.
So it's telling a story.
Oh, that's cool.
It really is.
That's
it really
beautiful.
Is. And one day I'll have finished the research to explain that flag,
Because it's
which
got
has like 10 different species of plants on it.
Oh, look at that.
But the other side of that same flag has a palmetto in the middle, and laurel on one side, and oak on the other.
Okay, question
So
for
the
the
other one
South
follows the same
Carolina
thing.
state flag
Uh-huh.
is the palmetto, isn't it?
Yes,
Now, does that tell something about the state, the symbol?
it does. In the American Revolution, Fort Moultrie in Charleston Harbor, well, the fort was built from palmetto logs. And if you get close to palmetto, you know, it's kind of a weird, spongy texture. It's not normal wood.
Kind of
And
like
it-
palm trees? a
Sort
little
of,
bit,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. And it turned out that it was very good at absorbing cannon fire. And that Fort Moultrie, made of palmetto logs, was, you know, it was a defiant fort against the British siege. And so the palmetto came to sort of symbolize this defiance of the British, and was adopted after the Battle of Fort Moultrie. You started seeing South Carolina units put the palmetto on their buttons and on their regimental flags. This War of 1812 code has palmettos on the buttons.
Oh, for goodness sake.
My son wears those same buttons
He does.
for one more week because he's a Citadel cadet.
Oh,
And they
congratulations.
still use the same buttons
Really?
that,
Oh, cool.
that were used 30 years before the college was even founded. It's the one thing they haven't changed. You can see that palmetto there on the belt plate that went right in the middle of the militia gear.
Oh, okay.
But the palmetto was all military, and the state flag was just the crescent. So if they made a flag to go to war, they'd put the palmetto on it. The state flag would be just the crescent. And almost 100 years later, they decided, well, this is silly, why don't we put them together? So then they put the crescent and the palmetto, and as soon as they put the palmetto on there, the crescent began to kind of rotate upward.
It's upward.
And now people think it's like a landscape scene of Myrtle Beach,
Right,
which is fine. Which is fine, we all love Myrtle Beach. But originally, the crescent was that piece of armor.
Oh.
That was a symbol of leadership and victory.
Oh.
And it was in the crest of one of the early families that settled South Carolina, the Bull family. Well, see, I've been marinating in this stuff for very long. Eric, let me point out one more thing.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
One of those things people tend to walk past.
Oh.
Look carefully at the quilt. It's not just a warm blanket. It's kind of like a giant get-well card. James Adam Reichard was a wounded soldier in the hospital, and the people at home made and sent him this quilt during his recovery.
Was it Civil War?
But,
or
yes,
oh, Civil War?
yes, this was 1863. But they also signed it. So if you look carefully, just like a card, you'll find signatures in different places.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that signature used to be bright red. This is probably another example in different places of language of flowers.
How many people would have participated in that?
Oh, see, I think this one, I think, has at least a dozen signatures here and there. It was definitely a community project for the wounded soldier. And one thing I haven't looked up yet, he did survive. He lived into his 70s.
Oh, how about that?
I'll bet His future wife's name is somewhere on this belt.
Oh, where y'all coming from?
Well, we're from South Dakota.
And
Okay.
We're local.
When you get all the way around to the Reconstruction case,
Okay.
we have one connection in here between us and the Dakotas.
Oh, really?
A carbine that is identified to a member of Custer's 7th Cavalry.
Oh, my
They were
goodness.
stationed here as occupation troops in South Carolina before they were
Before
sent
they went out.
west.
Wow.
So they were a real hard luck unit because everybody hates occupation. And at Gettysburg, on East Cavalry Field, maybe the most dramatic moment in the history of the American cavalry was when Wade Hampton gave his South Carolina cavalry the order to charge, and using his usual words, Hampton said, "Charge them, my brave boys, charge them." At the same time, Custer on the other side of the field turned to his regiments and he shouted, "Come on, you Wolverines!" And the South Carolinians and the Michiganders charged simultaneously and met at full speed in the middle of the field. They said their
Wow.
horses were actually thrown end over end from the impact, and the shock could be felt in the ground when the two lines came together.
Wow.
That's why Custer
So-
was with Michigan, wasn't he?
Yes, a lot of people don't know the background to certain sports traditions. Why do you think the Wolverines' color is blue and maize, as they call
Maize, oh, maize, not.
Uniform colors then.
it? The cavalry, the Union
Cavalry
cavalry.
colors.
Blue is the Union, but
The-
yellow bandanas were worn by all of Custer's Michigan
Oh,
troopers.
now see, that makes
Yeah,
total sense.
yeah.
Oh,
So
cool
that
trivia.
song, "Hail to the Conquering Heroes,"
Yeah.
it's not originally about football.
Oh,
Okay.
ooh, more goodies.
Oh,
Cool.
This is nice you're taking time with us like
Oh, see, I've been working with third graders. So
Oh, he's enjoying the adult conversation.
That's right, that's right. Look at that pair of binoculars right there. Colonel Bland's opera glasses.
Oh my
There's
goodness.
a bullet still stuck in them from
Oh, my-
Fredericksburg.
A bullet's in there.
Yeah, that's a .58 caliber bullet.
Yeah.
Those binoculars were actually in the pocket of Colonel Albert Bland when
Oh,
he was
my
knocked
goodness.
off of his horse.
Oh my.
And he woke up with two guys talking sadly about moving the colonel's body off the battlefield. And instead, he coughed and sat up to pull out his binoculars, and there was a bullet lodged in those instead of being lodged in him.
Yeah.
He had
So-
a garden angel.
He sure did. And the great thing about our place, we were actually started by a group of ladies in the 1890s.
Oh,
Melanie
neat.
Gist there was actually one of our founders. So that's how we got all the really good stuff.
Yeah.
Because they went out to first generation people. They went out to their brothers and cousins and husbands who had fought in the war. They brought their own things. And it was probably Mrs. Bland who donated those binoculars early in the 1890s. Yeah, thank you all for
Very well.
coming in.
Thank you, Joe. We
I'll have
appreciate
you
it.
back where you were when I was pulling you out.
Wow, we are really glad that we just happened to run into Joe. We learned a lot about the different flags and everything. We really appreciated his knowledge and his passion, and we hope you did too. Hey, if you liked the video, do please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and don't forget to sign up for notifications. And who knows, as we go, maybe someday we'll see you on the road. Safe travels to you.